Former Utah Governor Jon Huntsman has been tapped to be the next U.S. ambassador to Russia. He served as a Singapore ambassador under George H.W. Bush and ambassador to China under President Obama. National security and military analyst Dr. Rebecca Grant says Huntsman is a great pick. She joins us now out of Washington, D.C. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Danielle.
Dr. Grant, Huntsman was an ambassador under Obama and also a vocal critic of candidate Trump. Why do you think President Trump would give Huntsman what's arguably the most sensitive diplomatic post in the Trump administration?
Yes, Danielle, you've hit the nail on the head. The reason is partly his experience. He's been ambassador twice before. Also, Jon Huntsman is really up on Russia and other world security and policy issues because he's been chairman of the Atlantic Council. It's a very well-regarded think tank here in Washington, D.C. And there's another reason. He will be the face of America in Moscow. And Jon Huntsman will do a lot to counter some of that propaganda that the Russians love to put out.
How so?
Well, I think Huntsman brings a lot of experience. And you look at his record, and my research shows he's moderate on a lot of issues. He's capable of being bipartisan. Interesting, too, he really disagreed with Trump, for instance, on the Pacific trade deal last summer. So once again, we see that Trump has picked someone who isn't always going to be a yes man. I think he'll be a good representative of a kind of a classic, almost Rockefeller Republican, a good traditional American, and probably do very well for those reasons in Moscow.
Yeah, you brought up trade, and Huntsman is strongly in favor of free trade. He served as a deputy U.S. trade representative for the Bush administration, where he helped bring China into the World Trade Organization. That's a move Trump has blamed for the loss of American manufacturing jobs. During a 2011 Republican primary debate, Huntsman attacked Trump, saying he didn't subscribe to the Trump School of International Trade, saying he didn't want to find himself in a trade war. What do you make of that?
Yeah, very interesting. And Huntsman has been very forward-leaning, even suggesting adding China to the Pacific trade deal. We know that deal is dead now. What I think is most relevant to what he'll do in Moscow, though, is that he's taken a hard line on China on issues like intellectual property theft, on espionage, and on military force maneuvers. We've seen a lot of activity by Russian military forces around the world. So that will be a big part of Huntsman's job as ambassador. And he'll have to contend with some big security issues, Syria, security in Europe, especially Eastern Europe and the NATO borders, and then just the overall activity driven by Putin around the world.
Yeah, and we know that Obama appointed Huntsman to serve as ambassador to China in his first term because Huntsman speaks Mandarin and had lived in Taiwan. But he doesn't speak Russian, and he's never spent any time living in Russia. He's never held a position where he had to deal with Russian officials regularly or really ever had much to say about U.S.-Russia relationships at all. So a lot of people are very baffled by all that.
Yeah, it did come as a surprise, but look back to his term as chairman of the Atlantic Council. They have some of our nation's top Russia experts there, and he will have been absolutely steeped in the latest in Russia policy. Also, his ambassadorial experience, he knows how to be ambassador with a big country like China. Russia's similar. They're dealing with a lot of the same issues. And frankly, the cyberspace, espionage, and military confrontation issues are very similar between China and Russia. So he has a lot to go on.
That's a good point you have there. We know they have a lot of differences in opinions between everybody, but any evidence that Huntsman shares the pro-Russia views of many Trump associates, like former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn?
I think that Huntsman will be very cautious on Russia. He's shown he's going to take a hard line on China, so I think he'll take a fairly firm line as well. I mean, Putin really is going to have a lot to deal with Jon Huntsman. I wouldn't be surprised if Putin's a little envious. This is a guy who has the confidence of the president. He has business experience. He is able to play in the big leagues with Vladimir Putin, no question.
All right. Well, switching gears just for a minute, last week, a Defense Department investigation into a secret Facebook page operated by some members of the Marines uncovered thousands of nude photos of female service members taken without their consent. The Facebook group called Marines United, which has since been taken down, had about 30,000 active duty and retired Marines. The military has opened nearly all its branches to women. As a woman in national security yourself and a military analyst, is the military doing enough to protect women?
Sad to see, but this is it's a culture problem. The Marine Corps has made clear they are going to be very strong and take strong action. In fact, they did convict at court-martial 8 Marines over the past 3 years for improper video recording. So the military has the process to take this on, but I think we've all been shocked by how endemic it is. This will have to start with the young Marines. Marines are a very young branch. 65% of them are under age 25. So they come in, they'll have to start with a clear respect for privacy and to protect what's most important, and that is those warrior bonds between Marines, both male and female. It's that warrior bond has got to be number one, and this violation of privacy has got to stop. And the Marine Corps, I believe, will make that happen.
Do you expect, by all of this happening, that women will be discouraged from joining the military?
I think the Marine Corps and all our services have great opportunities for women. They've opened up almost all the branches, so I don't think that will necessarily be the case. But that's not to underrate the bad experience that this is for the Marines who have had this happen to them. It is really tough, and so I think we're going to want to see the leaders of all the services re-emphasizing that they want women in the ranks, they need women's service, and that it will be a safe environment for them to be in, because we need them. We need their service in the military.
And I brought up that one Facebook page, but there's actually quite a few groups that are being uncovered as we speak. This is turning out to be even bigger than we all suspected. What ultimately do you think is going to come out of all this? Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised to see several more leaves of this unfold. The social media makes it possible for this to happen. Again, as I said, it's a culture issue, but I expect to see the senior uniformed leaders of Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, and Department of Defense really take on this issue and work to stamp this out, because this is unacceptable. They know that. They need the women in the services. They deserve those opportunities. And I think we'll see our top defense leaders making this a big priority to prosecute where they need to and stamp out this cultural phenomena.
All right. We certainly hope that will be the case. Dr. Rebecca Grant joining us out of Washington, D.C. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Danielle.